Hiddeaki Anno's 2023 retelling of a 1970s classic show. I finally got to see it. Shin Kamen Rider, like I mentioned, written and directed by Hiddeaki Anno, the same man who created Neon Genesis Evangelion, both the original anime as well as the more recent movies, the reboots, as well as Shin Gojira, which I watched in 2021. I saw it a few years late, but I loved it. I totally fell in love with that movie. I was obsessing over it for like a week. And he also helped produce Shin Ultraman, but this is him back at the helm again, retelling the classic Toei live-action Toku series, Kamen Rider, but for modern audiences. This movie, man, do I have some things to say about it. First and foremost, I want to say this. You do not have to be a fan of the original Kamen Rider show or any Kamen Rider show to appreciate this movie, as long as you understand like the toku elements behind it, like how live action Japanese shows work, like Power Rangers. And Masked Rider obviously was brought over to this country both when Ryuki came over and also way back in the 90s. Saban did a Power Rangers-esque American version, which was footage from Black RX used as Masked Rider. So it's not the first time that Kamen Rider's been out, not to mention that some of the more recent Kamen Rider releases have been out in America too, not just Japan. So it's not a new character to many of you, but if you don't know anything about this type of entertainment, or if you are new, it's Japanese superheroes. But there's enough nuggets in here from the original Kamen Rider show that if you are a fan of that show, you'll appreciate it. The costumes obviously been sort of redone with modern flair, 2023 flair. The bike, there's obviously modernizations of the classic look. The special effects and the budget is definitely up from what it was in the 70s. It doesn't look like a cheesy 70s show, and I love this show, by the way. It's like a modern version of it, so I think newer fans who are not used to watching old Toku would pick up on it relatively easily. But man, I had a good time watching this. I thought Shin Ultraman was kind of boring. I was very let down by it. Shin Kamen Rider, though, the thing is, it's not a perfect film. It's not perfect at all, but there are enough Easter eggs and nods to the old show that you'll appreciate it. The original music is here. You hear remixes of it. There are scenes taken from it. There are characters and even some of the monsters, some of the augments that are brought back. What they did with this movie is they did kind of like what Shin Ultraman tried to do, where you had sort of an ongoing plot thread throughout the film of the two main characters going up against Shocker, and then you had different modern reimaginings of the old monsters. There are several of them, in fact, combined together like for one scene after another. So think about this. They took a lot of the old monsters, they combined them together, wrote a new, well, not a new, but a somewhat new, it is new, plot around that story, and it did enough to pay tribute to the old show while still giving it a breath of fresh air. I will say this. I still think that Shin Gojira was better. I love that movie. It's a masterpiece if you ask me. This was a couple of notches below it, but man, right from the onset, dude, it is extreme. See, in the old days when you had and even the new days, when you had fights, you had sparks, like when they would hit, like you'd see the sparks fly out of their costumes. Here, it's like blood. Like Hiddeaki Anno took that really gory kind of, style that he used in Evangelion and brought it here. Like, man, the opening shot, like the opening scenes here of Kamen Rider destroying goons and making their blood splatter is so freaking violent. Like, I've never seen a former kids show turned into a live action modern teenage adult movie go this far, except for, well, very rarely, right? I mean, it was so gory, and I'm not complaining about that. I thought it was awesome. It's almost like he knew, I'm making this show for people who grew up with the show. I'm making this movie for those who grew up with the show, but I'm going to make it violent and, a bit more, I guess, realistic, because really, blood's going to come out if you get hit by a giant cyborg. You understand what I'm saying? A bug cyborg. But it was better. I thought it was very well done. It was better for the audience it's going for. And one thing I liked about it too is the story of the backstory is revealed little by little as the film goes on. You don't just get the origin story right off the hop. They kind of sprinkle it throughout the movie. Sosuke Ikematsu plays Takeshi Hongo, who is the main character of the show, a very intelligent motorcycle rider who becomes Kamen Rider. He's augmented with grasshopper powers, and he ends up being our hero and having to face off against the other Augs. The other main character is Minami Hamambe, who is basically the she's I don't want to spoil it, but she's involved with the creation of Kamen Rider and with him, and you would think she's like a damsel, but she's really not. She's only a damsel for a very brief time, and it wasn't really it was kind of a subversion. Like, it's not what you think it is. Instead, she's this like tech whiz who's really smart and ends up being sort of like his guide. But what they end up doing with the story really did take some twists. Like, if you're familiar with the original Kamen Rider show, like I said, there's things they put in there that old fans are going to find surprising and amusing, like the way the characters kind of go and who gets introduced and who ends up actually being a character in the movie. The issue with the film when it comes to this, though, is that there's a bit of pacing problems. I thought the movie was really well paced, but maybe a bit too fast. I feel like the first maybe 40 minutes or so of the movie is really fast paced. You don't get a chance to breathe. Then it kind of slows down. Then it picks up again near the end. Now, I'm not complaining too much about that because there's tons of movies that have that, but I can see some people who might be new to this, who have never seen a movie like this, kind of saying, whoa, slow down. Like, this is a lot of information, because they give you a lot of information. It's sort of like what they did with Shin Gojira, how you have these meetings with the government, the Japanese government, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss something. Dubbed, subbed, it doesn't matter. You're going to miss something. So there's parts like that here, but I thought there was a much better balance of action mixed with story. I thought they did a great job doing that. But the special effects, man, one of the things that I've complained about a lot with modern toku stuff after like 2002 has been the overabundance of bad CGI. It's very hard for me to watch modern stuff, especially modern Sentai, because the CGI is so like, it hasn't evolved. It does not look very good. It looks very fake. Now, for some reason, with live action Kamen Rider shows, it's not that bad. I don't know if it's because there might be less of it, or it's masked better, or there's less like giant robot action. But here with this one, there was a lot of practical effects, and the CGI used looked very real. Like the movie looked even more realistic than the original show. And that's hard to pull when you have this era of filmmaking. You know, the digital era of filmmaking. Movies from the 70s always look more real because they're shot on film. This one, though, Anno is a really talented live action filmmaker, dude. Very talented guy when it comes to... Because remember, I was fooled. I thought that Shin Godzilla was a dude in a suit. I thought it was all practical. Turns out it was all CGI. They fooled me completely. And this movie almost got me with that. They almost did. The ending of the movie is very bittersweet, very emotional, but also very fitting of the Kamen Rider story. You don't have to really watch any other Kamen Rider stuff. I know there's lots of crossovers and things like that, but when it comes to this movie, Shin Kamen Rider, or New Kamen Rider, or Shin Masked Rider, whatever you want to call it, because it might actually be on Amazon Prime, even though I saw it, I got a home video version. I will tell you that this is its own thing. It's its own standalone story, separate from everything else. Don't expect to see other riders like appear here. It's just it's one story. No crossovers. You don't have to have any prior knowledge. But I really enjoyed it. I thought that the movie, it wasn't as good as Shin Gojira, but I had a fun time watching it. Some of the final battles are really, really awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I really, really did. Might not be a perfect film by any means. There are some weird effects as well. One of the monsters, which is a bat, they tried to go for the practical effect route, and then they mixed it with this really awkward looking CG, and that part did look kind of weird. It did look kind of hokey, because they tried to do too much on the screen, I think. That did kind of like, this could have been done better. But besides that sequence, the rest of the movie I thought was pretty well done. So those are my thoughts on Shin Kamen Rider. What do you think? Let me know, because I enjoyed the heck out of this one, and I hope you did too, if you like this kind of entertainment. Take care. See you soon.